Hello, it's me Brandon again. So I thought I would try something a little bit different and put my own tips into place and show a little bit of what my process is like learning a new track. Today I chose the Circuit of Americas on iRacing, just the West layout because the full layout's quite long, and I'll be driving the BMW Z4 GT3. It's a legacy car, so they don't really run it anymore in iRacing, but I think it's a good car. I haven't driven a long time and it's a track I don't think I've really ever put much time into, so it's going to be a new experience for me. Let's see how I learn this track. Well, first things first, you've got the sim that you're driving on, you've got the car that you're driving, and you've got the track that you're driving on. Ideally, it's nice to have a bit of an idea of how your sim handles, and I'm sure most of you will know by now. iRacing is quite a smooth experience. You have to drive as smooth as possible to go as fast as you can. On ACC, you can be a little bit more aggressive with your inputs and get away with it. And the BMW Z4 GT3 here, it's front engine, so the rear might move a little bit more on throttle, but it should be a little bit more stable in other areas compared to a mid-engine or a rear-engine car. GT3 cars can handle some curbs, but you have to be a bit more careful with the bigger ones. And the track today. Now, track today is the Circuit of the Americas, just like I said before, the West layout, so it basically cuts in half through the normal GP layout. And yeah, I've barely driven this track ever before. Now let's have a look at the track map. I can see it on the top right there, so I'll be looking there. Circuit of the Americas. I know most of the track, not through my own driving, but watching F1 and seeing other people drive it, but I've not really driven it myself, so it's going to be a completely new experience for me to drive. It's got quite a lot of tight turns here on this track. We've got a long, fast right corner towards the end of the track, and then followed by a fast left-hander. And obviously the S section in the first sector, that will be quite tricky to get right, but we'll work on that. So it looks like mostly we'll be doing heavy braking, and some of the fast corners might require a little bit of trail braking. Let's get into it. Rightio, so let's get out there. I don't have a pit limiter assigned, so I just got to be careful that I don't speed. Alright, up to the first turn we go. So we're going to start off with a tight left-hand turn. So I just need to figure out exactly how tight there is. There was a big sausage curb on the apex of that turn, so that's one thing I've already taken note of. A long right-hand, and making sure I'm using all of the circuit, which is going to take this outlap slowly. And now we've got a bit of blind crest here, so I can already see there's a sausage curb that I need to avoid. You want to make this as straight as possible. You want to try to avoid turning too much through a section like this. And there's a lot of little sausage curbs here that I'm going to have to avoid because I can only see myself flying. Now, to the left here. It's going to be interesting to see how much track limits we can abuse here. That's one thing I'm instantly noticing. There's a chicane, there's a 1X if you look at the top of my screen there, so we're not going to be able to cut that too much. So there's a lot of runoff. And with tracks with a lot of runoff, you basically want to try and cut as much of the track as possible without getting penalised. So right there I went for a bit of a test of the track limits. That was a 1X, so that I cut the corner there. I'm going to use as much of the track as we can. There's another sausage curb, but it's not big. I didn't get a 1X there, I don't think. And then here we go, can I go across there? That's part of the track that I can abuse right there. It looks like here we're going to want to go out wide and tuck back into the apex. How much curb can we use? Right, that's too much. We could probably run out wide to about there. And then obviously we want to make as much of the track available for us here on the long right-hander. So it looks like it's probably a triple apex turn using all of the track. Back to the right, which this is also a fast turn. Hard to see the apex, but how much of this can we use? That looked alright, and we go out to the outside. Okay, I can't go too wide there, otherwise we get a 1X. Right, let's see if I can put it. Okay, we're gonna put a starting lap together. Obviously, I'm not gonna be up to speed just yet, but let's just see what my first lap's like. So I have to find a braking point, which I have absolutely no idea where that is at the moment, so I've completely missed the first turn. I want to be looking for braking references as quickly as I can, and just reference points in general, so I can base my turning and braking points off of. Here, I've got no idea. Where's the apex? There it is. So I just want to get as close to the sausage curbs as I can. Carrying a little bit too much speed, so I'll figure that out as I go. Okay, how much curb can I use here? I can use a lot there. How much here? So I can basically straight line that little chicane there. How much here can we go? We can use all of this. Okay, I've carried too much speed into that one. Using all the track, coming out wide. This is a tight turn, so we're only going to need first gear here. Right, I still carried a little bit too much speed there, didn't turn early enough. Use a lot of curb there, out wide because we want to tuck the car back in. That one's very, very tight, and I went a little bit too wide there. Right. Oh, okay. It's going to be interesting on the inside there, seeing how much... There's like a red line where Max Verstappen cut over a few years ago, if you guys remember that in the US Grand Prix. It'll be interesting to see how much we can actually use of those track limits there. Okay, I can barely use any of the exit track limits right there. And how much can we use in the last turn? I haven't worked that out yet. Okay, I'll drive for a few laps, I'll try to pick out some reference points, and then we'll come back and I'll point those out to you in a second. Okay, so it looks like I'm starting to find a few of them. So for this last corner, I'm braking just before this white line here, and that should allow me to hit the apex on this last turn. And coming up to the first turn, I've noticed there's like a light pole or some sort of lamppost up on the right there, on the other side of the fence. Right there, I'm going to brake right just before that, right here, and I should make the apex of the turn. Just about. So that's probably going to be my braking reference for that turn. Through the S's, there's no real reference for braking. You just have to use all the track here into the turn and make the apex, and then as you get to the apex, just start trail braking a little bit to get the front to bite. And here you want to cut the track a little bit, brake at that sausage good. I actually hit it there. Use all the track that it's going to let you. My braking point I found there is to brake at the apex of the second part of the chicane. For this turn, it's just before this white line on the AstroTurf there. That should allow me to get to the apex. And this corner coming up, there's no real obvious braking reference. So as soon as I got the car straight along the curb, that's when I'm braking. For the next one, there's an easy 1x just there. This one, there's this apex right here I'm trying to use as a braking reference. I haven't got it perfect just yet. That was kind of close, but I'm going to be using that apex of that side turn to use as a braking reference. This corner, I'm just trail braking a little bit after that second apex. And this one, there's no real massive braking reference. I'm just braking. I'm still figuring that one out, but all the other ones I'm getting a bit more of a stronger idea of. Like this one, full of white line. Just about right there. That wasn't too bad. I can still be doing the corner better, but I've got my braking reference about right. Back to the first corner, I'm looking for that lamppost again, or whatever it is. And I'm going to brake a little bit before that, right here. There we go, still not perfect, but the reference works. And now back down to the S's. I actually use a lot of off-track there. To the apex. In a straight line, start braking a little bit, trail brake, get the front to dig in, trail brake, get the front to dig in, and brake at that sausage curb using all of the available track. You can use a lot of track there, and then braking at this part of the chicane, not cutting that track limits too much there, using all the track available here, braking just before the white line. Okay, a bit too late that time, but it's good enough for a reference. You don't have to brake exactly on the reference, but use it so you can mark a point where you should be braking. That corner just there that I just did, it's another one of those corners that there's no real strong reference. You just got to find a way to work to make it work. That corner I'm using the apex as my braking reference. Oh, gone a bit deep there. There's no real braking point through here. However, there is some trail braking, which is just after. Okay, I've gone a little bit deep there, but just after that second apex, I want to trail brake again just to let the front bite a bit more. There's this AstroTurf there. I brake somewhere along the middle. That's my reference point, is the AstroTurf, and just braking in the middle approximately. And back to the last turn just before this white line. There we go. So we've got a few reference points now. So those are very important to work out. As soon as you can, get your reference points together, because then you've got something to work from. Reference points to base your braking points off of, and then you can work on your turning in points. And how much speed you can carry through the turn. I'm trail braking it into the apex. Now get your turning in points right. Once you've worked out your turning in points, then you can work on your acceleration and coming out of the turns. So again, I'm just working on getting my trail braking right through this S section, carrying as much speed as I can through there, using as much track limits as I can. I actually used a bit too much there. Using all of the track, and I'm going to brake on this apex, not cut too much of the track limits, and I'm all right there. Here, it's illegal for me to be on this part of the track, so I'll use it. Or I brake a little bit late there. But yeah, I'm just using that braking reference and taking a step back each time until I got the right braking point. That corner, as soon as I got the car straightened up alongside that curb, that's when I'm braking. And that's pretty much it. Again, this corner, the apex is the braking reference. And these might change if I find I can change my lines up a little bit through the turns. It takes some experiencing. Get used to your initial braking references first, and then work on some new lines and just change things up and try to find a little bit more pace and see if you get better lap times. So at the moment, I can probably use, I can actually use quite a bit of track limits right there. At the moment, my best lap seems to be a 31.9. Let's see if I can improve that. Okay, so obviously not perfect yet, but a whole lot better. I've already got quite a good rhythm going through the circuit. I've just chopped my time back down to a 31.3. But once you get that rhythm going, then you know you're heading in the right direction. If you're not comfortable with corners and you're constantly missing apexes, then you know something's wrong and you need to maybe brake a little bit earlier. But for the most part already, I feel quite comfortable. It's just that first corner, that previous lap, I broke a little bit too late on. This time around wasn't too bad. Just seeing how much speed I can carry through these S's, you know? Just building up my confidence. I used a little bit, that one was better this time around. I didn't cut the track limits. Oh, I got the car's balance a bit wrong there. Swung the car a little bit too early. Didn't take that corner optimally. Such a tight corner. There's a lot of tight corners on this track, so it's difficult. You have to make sure you're slowing down enough. Right, I'm going to see if I can put a legal lap together without any off tracks. Let's see if that works out alright. And there we go, that was a nice clean lap, no off tracks. Wasn't a great lap though, I don't know if I'm going to improve my time. No, I was a little bit slower. However, I'm learning the track limits now, which is really important. You don't want to be going too fast and breaking the rules. You want to make sure you're within those track limits, and you've got to learn those as quickly as possible, because you don't want to end up in a race where you're cutting track limits and getting penalties. So that's one thing to focus on as well, pretty early on. Right, so that's basically it. Obviously I haven't got up to my optimal pace yet because I haven't spent too much time here, but if I do spend more time practicing, I'll get quick in no time. To get the extra pace out of the car and track, you will need to know the right driving techniques. Learning the track and all of its limits isn't just going to get you all the way to the top, so you do need to be driving the car the right way and looking out for all the little bumps on the track and knowing how the car is going to behave over those bumps. If I quickly jump to that chicane real quick, I'll go there right now. Okay, so I'm back at the chicane I was just talking about. So here we go. There's a bit of a bump here. So if you come over, you can cut a lot of this curb, but the track raises and dips. The rear kind of swings out, and then right here in front of me, if you can see, if you look carefully, the track elevates a little bit and then drops back down into where I'm braking. And if you're not careful, if you're braking incorrectly as the car dips, the car might swing to the side and pull out that way. So you need to be aiming the car dead straight when you hit the brakes, because if you're turning a little bit and you're trail braking a little bit, the car's going to pull to a way that you don't want it to. So make sure you're aware of all these little bumps and elevation changes on the track. You want to use those to your advantage, because if you're the one paying attention to those and other people around you aren't, they might crash into you, but they're not going to be getting the best out of their lap times. So make sure you're aware of all those things. Be aware of what the car might do and how it might react if you drive at a specific point of the track and the bumps. Now, there might have been a few things that I've missed. This process, I've done it so many times learning different tracks and cars as well, that I may have missed something that's really natural to me that I didn't really think too much of. So if you got any questions, please ask in the comments and I'll try my best to reply with a tip or two. Ideally, you want to get to that point where you're not thinking about it too much as you're driving. You want it to be a more natural experience and know where you've done something wrong and how to change it to make it better. Right now you might be at a stage where you're braking at different points trying to get through that turn, but you're not getting the desired result. Doesn't matter where you brake. The biggest thing I can suggest is make sure you've got solid reference points. Find something to use on the side of the track, like a pole or a street lamp or anything that you can just visually base your reference points off of. You don't have to brake directly alongside it, but as long as you've got that reference point and you're braking in relation to it in the same point every time, then you should be able to make a more consistent rhythm through that turn. Another thing is I've barely spent any time in this session. If I quickly jump back to the pits, If we take a look at the laps section here, I've only done a total of 13 laps, and a couple of those laps were done just cruising around talking to you. So it doesn't take too long once you've got the knowledge of what you should be looking for. Obviously with some sims, some cars and some tracks, it'll take longer to learn the track, but that's okay. You don't have to learn everything in one day, and the more you do it, the quicker you'll get used to it and you'll make the process quicker for yourself. To finish the video off, I'm going to go out there with a new set of tyres, try a hot lap and see what time I can do. And by the way, just so you know, I've been doing all of this on the baseline setup that's provided by iRacing. Let's go and get this hot lap done. Right, well I went up quicker but I invalidated my lap. It didn't record my voice at the end of this lap, so I'm just going to talk over it. So finally I got a nice clean lap in. It took a few attempts. I went a little bit faster, only just a little bit, about a tenth up on my previous time, but still a nice lap, and I could go probably a lot quicker than this if I really put some time and effort into it, but this is just the basics of what my process is like going into a new track and trying to learn it. Hopefully maybe you picked up a few tips here. It's straightforward stuff, but it's very important stuff, particularly all the reference points and understanding the track so you know how the car's going to behave if you put the car in a different position on the track. Like I said earlier, let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments, and maybe I'll do a more advanced guide like this later in the future. But anyway, for now, thank you for watching and catch you soon.